Once upon a time I tried to learn anatomy, but it didn't really work out that great because I never found the time for it. So today I'm going to make time. Now this is my series where I try to learn or do something in 7 days. To give a perfect example, 2 weeks ago I tried to draw with my left hand, creating the same drawing that I did on day 1, on day 7, and then looking whether I improved or not. And usually I come up with my own program, but today I got a little help. While browsing YouTube, I found this particular video by Marc Brunet, titled Learning Anatomy in 7 Days. I mean, it couldn't get any better than that. Bro did the entire work for me. What a great guy. Nonetheless, I don't like to copy things one-on-one, so I used his schedule and mixed it with a tad bit of my own. And so with that being said, let's draw a bunch of naked people! Day 1 will consist of me drawing not only a male, but also a female body from 3 different angles from my imagination. And to make the test on day 7 a bit more accurate, I will receive 1 hour per gender. Now I made my fair share of characters this year. Just to showcase you how exactly my bodies look like the last time I tried to draw from my imagination. That was last year, when I was still drawing on paper. Ever since, I never really tried to draw without a reference again because why bother? Nonetheless, I got really good at drawing from references and adjusting those to my own needs from my imagination. So I might actually be better at this than I think. Or I might be completely wrong. Ah, shit. What the actual fuck? I legit make these bodies as if I'm working with clay. I throw a bunch of shit on the table and hope that by the end of the day it will look like a human. Now considering the female body, there I actually want to change the rules. I want to create one body with enough time to think everything completely through. So as you can see, it's getting pretty late and I still want this to count as day 1, so let's draw the girl. Also, I have a pimple perfectly centered above my eyes. Bro, I am the chosen one and that is straight facts. So for the female, I will try to make an easier pose that is still dynamic. Now that I have a lot more time, I don't feel rushed anymore and I can actually take my time with this piece. And surprisingly enough, it's actually going in a way better direction than the man's body. Alright, the female body turned out amazing. Nonetheless, I still think that there are a few flaws that I might improve on during the course of this 7-day challenge. Day 2 will consist of 2 exercises, one in the morning and one in the evening. Starting with the first one, a very simple one, we will just draw from references. This one I aim to get as much information of the different body shapes and angles as possible. What I love about this practice is that it forces me to focus on the absolute necessary. Besides that, I am constantly in need of just another minute to complete my piece, which kind of pressures me to capture the overall image a tad bit faster. This isn't something I really like doing, the whole speed painting kind of thing, because I'm more of a relaxed painter, but just for this practice alone, I think this is actually really great. The next exercise is something I wanted to do for a long time. It's a small exercise and I think it's perfect to end the day with. Basically, I'm gonna take a reference, probably of myself, and just look at it for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'll remove it and try to recreate it as good as I can. I think this is the best way to learn to draw from imagination because you really start to build that library inside your head. Alright, for the next 2 days I'm planning on actually studying. Because believe it or not, drawing alone won't get you as far unless you actually understand what you're drawing. And that point specifically is what I am lacking in. So the way that I want to do it is that I will pick out each body part individually and then simplify that body part and draw it from each angle. Because I feel like having all these drawings on paper laying around your room makes it more apparent. And besides all that, I also started watching a few more videos on anatomy to get as much information as possible. Whatever I did on day 3, I will now implement as a whole. It's time to connect everything and just simply draw a lot. Before that, I want to quickly revise everything that I learned yesterday. While I do all this, there's one thing that I wanted to mention. I really struggle with time. Some of you might know that I have a part-time job, which kind of makes this challenge even harder to pull off. But with this video, I want to show you guys that you don't need 300 hours to progress, especially if you're a beginner. If you focus on what's most important first, the big picture, rather than going attaboy all the way straight into the details, you learn a lot faster. And with that being said, let's go back to the exercise. Alright, it's time to draw from my head now, and I'm planning on doing as many poses as possible. As mentioned in the beginning, I am not a complete beginner. I've been drawing for a good year digitally now, but compared to how I used to draw bodies 1 year ago, this is tremendous progress. And the most surprising thing out of all is that in all this time, I have not looked at a single anatomy video or book. I have not practiced it or studied it. I simply took my references and drew the characters and people that I wanted to. For the first time in my life, I feel like I can draw whatever I want without it looking like a cripple with third-degree burns. It's the last day before I finally face the challenge of today's video. On day 5 I took a break, because breaks are important and without them you die. So what is day 6 all about? Honestly, just a bit of everything. I want to do a bit of revision, draw from references, do some sketches from my head, and maybe learn a bit anatomy. And I don't think it goes any further than that. To get really good at something means repeating the small things and having an open mind to learn something new all the time. In my opinion, that's all there is. Alright, it's time to see whether I improved or not. Starting with the man from 3 different angles. Right away I felt so much more confident simply because I understood more how things connect in our body. So I knew what made more or less sense. And so after just 20 minutes I saw the work that I put in those past 7 days finally pay off. Another thing I'm paying attention to is that this time all 3 angles actually look like the same person. So another 20 minutes later, I knew that I will wipe the floor with this challenge. It's not 100% correct of course, but I don't expect that to happen from just 7 days. But it's dynamic, it makes sense in most cases and looks like the same person. So I put in one more 20-minute session into the last figure, and this one was by far the hardest. I didn't work much on back and side profiles, which is why I don't know how the muscles connect there, yet I tried my best to make it look as human as possible. And so 1 hour later, we can finally see what 7 days can do to your art. I've realized that my biggest problem was that I never looked at anatomy. Even though I was pretty good at drawing from a technical standpoint, I was lacking understanding and knowledge. Now if I combine these two, for the first time in my life, I finally feel like I understood anatomy. So before we move on to the last test of this challenge, here's the biggest tip that I can give you guys. Take each body part one by one, look at the big muscles and draw them from different angles. And once you understand what goes where, just morph the whole thing. Look where the muscles connect. The best example would be the collarbone that connects to the shoulder. Don't just draw 2 lines that have no logical end just because you know they exist. Another tip I have for you guys is that you should use your references and study them. One thing to make the pose in this drawing work is actually the hip. Since I wanted my character to tilt his hip, I had to draw a curve in the side profile that I didn't do in the beginning. And when we look on the backside angle, this curve has to be the exact opposite. To study small details like that over time really helps you understand the body a lot better. Now for the girl, I wasn't sure whether I'll be able to create anything better because in my head, day 1 was already pretty decent. But soon enough I realized that with the improved anatomy, my drawings got a lot more dynamic. And so I think everything besides the face turned out a lot better. And with that being said, this challenge was an absolute success. I hope you guys could also learn something from this video. And so, truly thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one.